Everybody has a creative potential, and from the moment you can express this potential, you can start changing the world. Good evening, everyone present over here. I am Sarika Purohit, GDSE lead at Indore Institute of Science and Technology College, and I will be host for your today's session. And this is the collaborative session with GDSC Mukesh Patel School of Technology Management, Engineering, Mumbai, GDSC Indore Institute of Science and Technology, GDSC Shri Vaishnav Vidyapit Vishwavidyalaya, and GDSC Chamri Devi Group of Institutions. Once again, good evening, and it's my immense pleasure to be host of today's session. Today, we have Roman Sir for guiding you all with the internship opportunities and the scope of Flutter. So I welcome our guest speaker, Roman Sir. Please, sir.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. Thank you, Sarika, for the invitation. Thank you all the GDSCs collaborating. My name is Roman. I am a Flutter GDE. I am also a lead organizer at my own community, GDG Lawrence, here in the United States. I am so happy to be here sharing my knowledge with you, future Flutter developers. Great. Let me know when I can start, if you guys can see my screen. Perfect. Thank you so much. So let's start. So today I'm going to be sharing not only my personal journey as a Flutter developer, but I will also share it so that those of you who will become future Flutter developers, how you can embark in that journey. I will also discuss, growing your career as a developer, internships, job trends, and also guidance in your careers as you embark in the tech space. So I hope you guys enjoy it. And stick around for some tips, and at the end we may have some questions about it. So thank you so much. Let me know if you guys can see it well. So yes, here I am just showing you a for those of you who use Snapchat, I created my own snap lens with the dash, with the Flutter dash, so you guys can just use it to take your own selfies, actually even use it for your own web calls and whatnot. So this is a snap lens code that puts a little bit a dash on your on your shoulder, and you can make it for like fun things around Flutter. If you guys are passionate about Flutter as I am, you would love to get this Snapchat lens that I created myself. Yes, I not only do Flutter, I also do augmented reality. So you guys can enjoy that. Thank you so much. So I just wanted to get a feel for you guys in the chat, if you guys don't mind. So after work or studies, I just wanted to get a little bit of a feel for all of you. I wanted to get to know you. So after work or studies, what do you usually do? Leave a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4 in the chat by letting me know if 1, you work on a side project, 2, you don't like to maybe worry about work anymore, or studies. After you study, you just forget about coding. Maybe you love movies, or you have like some hobbies. Or 3, you're like a little bit of both. You kind of like to mix it up. You engage on extracurricular activities, you work on side projects, but you also relax a little bit. Or 4, you do other things. I wanted to see what you guys do. I wanted to get to know you. So if you don't mind leaving in the chat a 1, a 2, or a 3, or a 4, I want to see where most of people are. So you see, some folks are already working on side projects. I see folks also like me, a little bit of both. Whether you work on a side project, then you relax. I love watching movies. I love. I even remember last time I was in India. I was in Bangalore, and I remember even like watching Bollywood movies. I loved going to the movies over there, and I definitely miss going back to India. So I'll soon be there, and I hope to meet you guys one day. Great. So this is it. Thank you so much, everybody, for contributing. Yes, I appreciate everybody sharing also that you're like me. I do a little bit of both, and definitely love engaging in really cool things. So thank you. Thank you so much. So let's start right away. I've been in the industry for 10 plus years. I've doing stuff ranging from desktop, cloud, web. I come from the web a lot, but ever since I encountered Flutter, I fell in love with it because, again, it's such an amazing framework, which I'm going to be talking about in just a moment. So what is Flutter? Some of you say, oh, yeah, Flutter. Flutter is this amazing framework that allows you to develop beautiful, natively compiled user experiences, user interfaces with one single code base in a multi-platform fashion. You can target 7 different platforms at the moment, and soon, thanks to Flutter 3.7, thanks to the latest version of Flutter, you will be able to target more framework, more platforms like Risk 5, WebAssembly, and a lot amazing platforms. So you can build great experiences in Flutter. Like I mentioned, Flutter is open source, is supported by Google, and then you can target 7 different target platforms. You can do Windows. We can do, for example, like Windows, iOS, Mac OS, web, Android, Linux, embedded, and soon you will be able to do Risk 5 and also WebAssembly. So it's an amazing time for you to start learning about Flutter, which is amazing. Yes, Harsh is great. Alibaba uses Flutter. BMW uses Flutter. eBay uses Flutter. Philips uses Flutter. A lot of great companies are moving into Flutter because of the benefits that it brings. Thank you guys for, Google itself. Thank you, Shrivank. Google itself uses Flutter for most of a lot of their internal applications. So great point, guys. And the beauty of Flutter is that you can, with one single code base using the Dart programming language, then you're able to target all of these amazing frameworks. So it's really, really a no-brainer when it comes to adopting a framework like Flutter, because it gives you that flexibility and that versatility pretty much. But pretty much Google's vision about like adopting Flutter and an upcoming operating system that they're working on called Fuchsia is actually to achieve ambient computing. Google's vision about ambient computing is more than just a buzzword. The idea of ambient computer explained it better than ever before. In a nutshell, Google wants to be able to access its services from wherever you are, like at work, at home, on the go, with just a set of consistent set of methods and commands. It wants Google services to disappear in the background, becoming as reliable, as essential as running water. For example, like imagine UIs in your fridge, the UIs like in your thermostat, in your phone, of course, on your TV, on your smart home assistant. All of those interfaces, imagine in a very fluid fashion. Users go from place to place in their car. Somebody mentioned already a car. But for example, like Toyota is using Flutter in its infotainment system, and in many other places where you can even see Flutter. Flutter will be there wherever pixels can be painted. So it's an amazing experience, and this is the whole premise of ambient computing. Just wanted to mention that a little bit. And to be honest, Flutter is not a very old framework. It started in 2017, but you see, there have been other amazing frameworks. Again, nothing against those other cross-platform UI frameworks like React, Xamarin, NativeScript, and others. But Flutter has come to be like the disruptor in the industry because of how easy it is to learn, the short learning curve that it is to adopt it, and he's like one of the fastest growing skills in the industry for you to become a developer targeting all of these platforms. So it's amazing. And because one of the things that really characterizes Flutter is its blazing performance, achieving 60 frames per second consistently across multiple platforms, compiling directly to native code as opposed to using like a JavaScript bridge or anything. It's amazingly fast, and that's what you should tackle. The core, one of the best characteristics of Flutter, it's building widgets, rebuilding widgets, painting pixels on the screen, creating pixel perfect user interfaces. So let's start with one of the topics that I wanted to share with you guys. So how to learn Flutter effectively. So how would you truly learn Flutter effectively? So, apologize in advance, but there are no shortcuts. That's the first thing that I wanted to show you. Like I could tell you, for as far as me, as far as like the way I learned it, it was pretty tough at the beginning, but I put like a lot of effort in it. There's a lot of great resources out there online for you to learn, but there's no shortcuts. Don't believe people that say learn Flutter in 24 hours. That's not possible. You really want to achieve, you really want to learn Flutter the right way, you need to apply like some sort of strategy. But you could definitely, everybody here has the potential to learn Flutter, but not like really quick. You there are no shortcuts to it. But my suggestion to you is start small. For example, you can master widgets, UI layout, build a bunch of UI layouts. You can use some of the code labs that I've put out there so that you can learn to create beautiful interfaces. Then, for example, you can move towards something like, okay, you can apply, for example, state management. Don't start like with state management and then try to build like UIs. You need to understand widgets, how Flutter works underneath the hood, and then you can apply those other advanced concepts. Another thing is also, if you build something and you get to build something cool, put it out there and make sure to iterate and get feedback. Don't try to build like something really big and spend years building it. No, you want to put stuff out there, try to build like a minimum viable product, and then you can put it out there, get feedback from your friends, and then you increment, rinse and repeat. You do it in that agile fashion. Another thing is, try to avoid over engineering. Don't try to go by the hype out there like, oh yes, if you don't do it in Riverpod, then don't do it or you're wrong. No, there are multiple ways on how to approach state management. For example, you can use Provider, you can use a Block, you can use Riverpod, you can use GetX. There's other frameworks out there, and that you can apply like state management or other things. Try not to over engineer it. Don't make it too complex if it's a small application, but make it so that you can maintain it and you make it very scalable. And of course, as far as your learning goes, mix it up with videos, tutorials, and code labs. But always never forget to really build. This is the most important of all of the rules. When you learn stuff, if you don't put it in practice, you won't, like that, the knowledge won't stick in your brain. So my suggestion to you is build. Continue building as you learn, so that knowledge you can apply it right away. Great. And for me, to be honest with you, I remember that I started building mobile applications and web applications using JavaScript, Objective-C, Java. And then I was like, oh, so do I have to throw away all these languages? I'm going to have to start relearning a new language. The thing about this is the nature of the business. This is the nature of being in tech. Tech is a very volatile industry, and you have to pivot. So don't be afraid to adopt new languages, to learn new things, because that will actually make you a more valuable asset for your company. It will allow you to increase your tool belt, like of tools, and your learning capabilities. Like for me, it's not like I literally threw it away, but at least I found out that I was more productive by learning Flutter and Dart. And then I didn't have to have like multiple code bases for building the same application. But yes, there's nothing wrong with learning something new. You just need to adapt to it, embrace the fact that things change over time. For example, today, there could be the new framework that came out. Don't feel bad about it. Don't feel like you're feeling left behind. Embrace it and use it to your advantage. In my case, I learned Flutter and Dart. Well, I was an expert in Java and Objective-C, but I noticed that Flutter and Dart make me more productive. I can build 7 applications with one single language, and that was amazing, using one single framework. So it's very good. And the key to learning Flutter, the key to become an efficient, cross-platform developer in Flutter specifically, whether you're new to the game or you're an expert making a transition, is to live by one single concept. Everything in Flutter is a widget. When you learn Flutter, if you adopt that mentality, everything in Flutter is a widget. Or some people say not everything, but like if you learn Flutter around that concept, you're gonna get really far. So think that everything in Flutter is a widget, and you will see how that will permeate in your learning and in your applications, and for you to embrace it and know like the concepts of it. Another thing that is really key in learning about Flutter is learning how Flutter works underneath the hood. Like it uses three trees. It uses the widget tree, it uses the element tree, and the render tree, because it's an efficient way to reuse widgets. The way that Flutter works is by repainting widgets on the screen. And then the widget represents like the configuration, how you want your UI to be represented. That's why they mentioned that Flutter is a very declarative UI framework. So you provide a widget tree, which is immutable. Then the widget tree creates the element tree. This is the glue between what gets painted on the screen and your configuration, like your widget tree. And then the element tree is the one that actually kind of is like the instantiation of the widgets, pretty much. And it manages the life cycle. Then the element tree creates the render tree, which is actually what you see on the screen. It's worry about sizing, layout, painting on the screen, uh, um, user interactions, touch, and all of that. So if you understand the three trees of Flutter, you will get really far, because you will understand how it ticks, how it works underneath the scenes. And one of the things that I've truly embraced about Flutter is that it is completely different from other frameworks. You own every pixel drawn on the screen. People say, "What do you mean that? Like you truly painted?" Actually, Flutter works using a rendering engine called Skia. It's a 2D game engine that works underneath the scenes, that paints every pixel on the screen, as opposed to tapping into the native implementation of each component or each UI element, or using like a translation process to convert, let's say, like one component to a native component. It actually paints the component on the screen. Every button is actually drawn. It's kind of like the HTML canvas. Every circle, every ellipse, any list, columns, rows, all of that is painted on the screen. That's why Flutter gives you the flexibility to do anything, literally anything you want, because of that amazing power. So take advantage of the fact that you own every pixel on the screen, and you can draw anything you want to your heart's content. You can build anything you want. So that is one of the great things to keep in mind. Awesome. So this is one of the things that I wanted to discuss with you. Some of you who are really interested in becoming full-time Flutter developers, I'll give you my recipe. It's not, may not apply to you, but I want you to still take this away so that you learn how to become a full-time developer. Let's see if this applies to you, but I'll share my tips so that you can actually do it as well. So a couple of the things is knowing that Flutter is one of the fastest growing skills among developers, or at least among like UI frameworks, is one of the fastest growing skills. So it's great to have. This is the best time for you to join the movement so that you can become a Flutter developer as well. How to become a Flutter time developer? Rule number one, you can become an advocate or a self-proclaimed Flutter evangelist. Do not wait for people to nominate you to be a Flutter GDE like I am, for example. Before I became a Flutter GDE, I was really passionate about Flutter. I wanted to share it with people. I used to do exactly what I'm doing right now. I used to go to GDSCs. I used to go to GDGs and say, can I speak about Flutter? Can I share my knowledge with all of you? I may not have the credentials, but I do have the passion. I love Flutter and I love teaching others. And that is what made me learn and achieve the level of success and the level of knowledge that I have in Flutter. So don't wait till people give you the title. Make yourself an advocate, an evangelist. Go out there, put blog posts, videos, and stuff like that. You don't have to wait for people to tell you that you are. No, you become that because you're passionate, because you want to do it. So it has to be organically. So you become an advocate of whatever you're passionate about. In this case, Flutter for me. Also, another thing is also learning in community, learning with with your friends, with your colleagues, with your co-students. You can join a Flutter group. In my case, I created GDG Lawrence because I was passionate about Google technologies. Also allow me to improve on my public speaking skills because I wanted to stand in front of people, talk about a Flutter and be passionate about it. So I joined Flutter groups because I wanted to meet also like-minded individuals such as myself, so that I can learn Flutter in a community-centric approach. But if there's no group next to you or nearby, you can create your own. Creating a Flutter group or creating communities is free. You don't have to pay for any of those things. If you're passionate about something and you want to bring more people into the fold, you can create your own. But one of the key things that I advise to all of you is that none of this is easy. It is doable, it is possible, but you have to invest time and put the work. Everything is achievable. You just got to invest the time and put the work. For all of you, I assume that shouldn't be a trouble because I see that you guys are very passionate, very enthusiastic, very talented. So keep up the good work, invest the time, put in the work. Another thing is you can build your own portfolio. Like you don't have to wait for people to tell you like, oh, look, you can build your own portfolio. You can create it yourself. There are places where you can use, for example, like Firebase hosting to host your own like web page, even created in Flutter, and you can put out there the things that you've been creating so that people see, what you're about. They can see your talent. Sometimes even like having a GitHub repository is even more than your resume, or even more than having a bunch of accolades in your studies. Sometimes even contributing to Stack Overflow or contributing to the community as a whole allow you to build that knowledge and those credentials that are required out there. Let's say if you're looking for internships and jobs, you can send them your resume, but if you give them your GitHub repo, that will actually give them a sense of what your talent is, what you're about, how you're contributing, and how talented you are, because they can see your work. They can have a tangible way to gauge your knowledge, as opposed to like looking at a piece of paper. Oh, such and such knows Flutter. Okay, how do I know if you know Flutter? Look at look at my portfolio, look at GitHub, look at my contributions in Stack Overflow or across the community. So these things are really key, that even are valued out there in the industry more than just your resume. So make sure that a live resume or a live a way to you to demonstrate your skills is part of your strategy to go out there and look for jobs and all of that. One way that I became, well, the reason that I became a Flutter developer, a full-time Flutter developer at my job, some people don't believe it. I pitched it to my team. No one in my team at Philips here in North America knew about Flutter. They said, what is Flutter? Is that like React? You see, React was even more popular. And then when I said, well, Flutter is this amazing framework. Wait. Let me give you a presentation. I prepared a presentation. I created a prototype. When I showed it to my manager, when I showed him that with one single code base, one language, I was able to publish to 7 different frameworks, to different platforms, it was a no-brainer. He says, let's adopt it. This is amazing. We will be able to deliver multiple applications, multiple target platforms. We're going to be able to reach our users in wherever they are, in multiple places with one single code base. This is amazing. So we adopted. I was able to train my team. I was really happy because I was doing what I loved. I showed him a demo. I showed him the prototype, and it was amazing. And the reason why, for example, even in your company, in your, let's say, place or work, wherever you're doing your internship, or even among your friends, like you guys are building a project, I showed my friends and my colleagues the pros and cons of using Flutter versus the existing solution. And that's what made them transition to Flutter. It's not like they're going to completely throw away whatever they had, but at least I was able to show what were the benefits of Flutter. And that is what made them realize like the true benefits of it, and they were able to adopt it. We do use other frameworks. We use Angular. We use again, we use React. We use Svelte. We use Vue. We use other frameworks. But Flutter is actually something that we use whenever we truly want to put great products out there, and we want to deliver again, amazing pixel perfect experiences. Great. Yes, I'll definitely share some of that as well, like some great projects. Actually, Shivank, this is a successful project that I actually built with Flutter at my company. this actually was the project that this actually is called CX Shuttle. This was an application that internal employees at Philips North America use so that they can transport themselves from one site to another. And this is actually literally a physical bus shuttle that takes people from one site to another. And I called it CX Shuttle. So this is an application developed in Flutter for Android and iOS, and people can book their seats. They can book like the time that they want to be picked up or dropped off by the bus. This was actually the project that they said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna build it in React." I said, "But let me pitch Flutter to you. Let me show you how we're gonna be able to deliver two applications with one single code base, no changes whatsoever." In this particular case, it was successful. People are using it very heavily. They love it. And this is the reason why now we have two more applications readily to be shipped and to be deployed to the stores, and people can use them because the way I pitched it to my team. And thanks to that, everybody's happy. Now we have a bunch of Flutter developers in the team, and everybody's really productive. They have an amazing framework to in their tool belt, something that they can learn, something fresh, something modern. So yes, this is the project that I built. So now let me give you, for example, some best practices on developing Flutter applications that you may get out there, but I just wanted to share my some of the best practices that I've used and the things that I've learned also in the community. So one thing, do not marry a package or an approach. Like try not to go for the hype of like just thinking that this is the only way to do it. This is the only package that I will use. All the projects that you encounter, you're going to treat them every project differently while implementing the core principles. In this case, what I'm trying to say is uh, don't try to use like a cookie cutter approach to every application. You want to treat it differently. If you have, for example, like a small application, you could go, for example, with just the provider state management, for example. But if you have like a larger application, you may apply the same approach, but you're going to have to deal with more moving pieces. You're going to work as a team, and then you're going to actually have something that is truly scalable, maintainable, and also that is going to endure the test of time. So you make sure that you truly don't marry a package or an approach. You have to think of it as in a holistic fashion, treat each project differently, but you implement the core principles that will actually apply to all projects. And these are some of the things that, regardless of the project, whether it's a small, medium, large, it will apply to every single project. So you can implement, for example, clean architecture, which is, and I'm going to explain to you in a minute. You are going to implement separation of concerns. Those are things that actually truly apply to multiple projects. In the case of Flutter, you apply widget composition. Widget composition means that you don't just build like like large widgets. You actually discretely separate it into each independent feature or whatever they do. You created as many widgets as opposed to one big build method, for example. You make sure that you create the widgets in discrete fashion so that they can communicate with one another. They have their own build method. They have their own, what they call the single responsibility principle. One widget does one thing and does it well. You limit the number of dependencies. Like a lot of people ask me, like, yeah, why my Flutter applications are like so large and huge? Well, you need to make sure that you limit those number of dependencies. If you truly need that dependency, definitely go ahead and use it. Make sure that it's something highly adopted by the community. It has good scores in pub.dev, but also it's not bloated. One thing that I suggest, if it's simple enough that you can build it yourself, I would build it myself, because that's something that will allow me to learn. But for example, don't think of like building your own navigation framework just because you want to learn how to do the navigation. No, you can use a navigation framework package out there, and then you can implement it in your application. But I mean, for example, like one button that does like some small animations, you don't need a whole package for it. You can build it yourself. That way you can learn, and then you can step up your game on Flutter. And last but not least, do not over engineer your apps. In the fact that you don't make your application complex just because thinking that an application that is complex, is valid, or is legit, or is production ready. Sometimes the simplest applications, the simplest solutions are usually the best and are usually the correct one. So try not to over engineer your apps just so that you can show somebody like, oh, look, I can make something really difficult or really complex. Your users don't care about it, to be honest. Your users only care that your application is beautiful, it performs really well, that it does what it needs to do, and it makes them it provides them with value. They don't care whether you build it with Provider or Riverpod. They care about those topics. So you try not to make your life more complex than it really is. So try not to over engineer your applications. Clean architecture is what I was mentioning earlier, in the fact that you don't just like create applications just willy-nilly. You need to make sure that like these concepts apply from small applications, medium applications, large applications. All these architectures vary in the details how they achieve the same goal, but the goal is the separation of concerns. You divide your application in multiple layers. You don't for example, like you will hear me saying that you don't put business logic in the UI, and vice versa. So each at least in at least each layer, for example, you can divide it. It has its own responsibility. But all of these architectures that you will hear out there, and all of these approaches, MVVM, MVC, MVP, the same Riverpod, or all of those flat frameworks, they apply like these type of architectures. But the characteristics that they have is that they're independent, they're testable, they are independent of the UI, making sure that you can swap the UI easily, and you can just implement the business logic completely independent of that. You can make independent of the database, meaning, for example, you can swap out the database or the backend of your application without affecting all the other layers. That is something that you need to take into consideration. And for example, independent of any external agency, what they call it, like, your business rules don't have to like your application doesn't know, for example, like one layer doesn't know what let's say what the backend does. Like the UI shouldn't know what the backend does. So that's why we split it into multiple layers, and then we apply it in that onion approach, starting from, for example, like the presentation layer is the UI. The application layer are like your services, right? The domain layer are the models, like the data transfer objects. And last but not least, the repositories, which are the wrappers around the way that your application fetches data. So this is something how you can implement it in that way. And for example, you can even go a little further to even structure your Flutter applications by using either a layer approach versus feature approach. In my case, I use more the feature approach, because you can then split your features into discrete entities. That way, they don't affect one another, and you can work as a team. You can split responsibilities, and then you can divide your application into multiple features. Then, if you see a feature has, for example, let's say a feature is let's say products, but then inside of products you have your application, you have your data, domain, and presentation. That way you can split the responsibilities into each separate folder. That way everything is not like, everything is easy to find, and everything is not like all over the place. That way you can introduce new features without affecting the overall architecture. So these are, again, small tips, things that you can implement out there that you can definitely find at. Now, something that you guys want to learn about like the job trends in the industry right now. Something that I've been seeing a lot in the industry are skills in automation, artificial intelligence, digital marketing. Those are critical in the coming months and years. And there's also a growing need for like cybersecurity, because of course you've seen a lot of companies where there's been like security breaches, stealing information, stealing users' data, and cybersecurity is one of the key topics out there. But for example, like to me, my recommendation to all of you is to actually develop T-shaped skills. Companies are not looking just for software engineers or software developers. They're looking for problem solvers, people that can jump the opportunity when the need arises. Yeah, you can wear multiple hats. In my case, to my suggestion to you to succeed in today's industry, talent needs to have a T-shaped skill sets. People should have a breadth of knowledge across multiple disciplines and a depth knowledge in one area. In my case, I have deep knowledge in front end using Flutter. But for example, I have multiple. For example, I have breadth of knowledge in cloud, in augmented reality, in design. So I do have knowledge that I can use throughout a company. But I am deep in one knowledge, but then I have multiple knowledge throughout other areas. So this is what is going to give you an edge over other candidates. Companies are gonna You're gonna be valuable to a company as soon as you step in, because you can wear multiple hats and you can be versatile. And the great thing is that it makes you more valuable to an organization, especially the ones continuously adapting their workforces. Like they will say, like, oh, such person is very valuable because he can help out in multiple areas. But the current job market, constantly evolves. Many employees have shifted to like a skills first mindset when hiring. And when they weigh a candidate's skill, it's as much as a degree or previous experience level of knowledge. So not only like how much credentials you have as far as your study, but also like your skill set and your knowledge. Also, you lean into that skills first strategy that can give you the confidence to navigate the job market, particularly through turbulent times. You've seen companies like laying off a lot of people, but when you adapt to those changes and you become versatile and you have like T-shaped skills, you can survive any storm, any weather, and you will be really resilient in that aspect. The great thing also is that some of you already know, but you can build tech skills quickly through micro credentials. Like I myself, I have a bachelor's degree in computer science. I could have gone for my master's or my PhD, but I felt like I was able to also adopt like some that micro credentials mentality. For example, I am certified as a professional cloud architect by Google. I have an AWS cloud engineer certification. I have Microsoft certifications. I am a cloud developer in Google. So those micro credentials, those, for example, that you can get from Udemy, LinkedIn, are also really good because they give you fresh knowledge of what's out there in the industry. You can also get it like from Cloud Skills Boost, which is an amazing resource. But although online courses are a great way for you to learn new skills, if you don't have a way to truly practice what you learn, you should find ways to practice by finding those excuses for you to implement it. For example, in my case, I volunteer in my community to, for example, like to a small business. I build them their website, or I create like I try to help them adopt the cloud by teaching them how to adopt the cloud, like through Firebase or like serverless services and stuff like that. Like you want to find those excuses so that you can build real life experiences out there, which give you the knowledge to go out there and get jobs and build your credentials. And I understand like lately employees are even dropping the degree requirements. Not that they're valuable, they are, but they're trying to democratize their workforce by dropping the degree requirements. They're pulling more stock in industry micro credentials, for example, like these, like certification in Google, like an Android certification, a cloud certification, and stuff like that. Something that you don't have to spend like years, but you can actually get like micro degrees in that way. Of course, we need to address the elephant in the room, Chat GPT and generative AI. A lot of people ask me, like, yes, so am I going to lose my job? Or do I have to immediately jump into AI? No, you don't have to. The biggest conversation right now in the industry is the future of artificial intelligence and what implementing something like GPT, for example, in the workplace looks like. The purpose of tools like ChatGPT, in my opinion, to give it to you, the purpose of tools like ChatGPT is fundamentally about applying what everyone, amplifying what everyone is able to do. ChatGPT brings the dream of having like the most useful and helpful assistant to life. I use ChatGPT and I actually embrace it to help me, not to replace me. So it helps you to be more productive, of course, because it leads ultimately to a better quality of life. For example, like I know that it helps you code. It helps you create images. It does a lot of the things that even manually would have taken you hours to build. But AI is a huge opportunity. it increases the efficiency of those entrepreneurs or solopreneurs, like they call them. It also enhances your online productivity. It also cuts costs, like in marketing related areas, for example. But it also could cause, for example, I know, job replacement. Like it does. There are things that ChatGPT or generative AI or AI in general can even do better than some people, like some jobs. So they say that it can replace some jobs. But instead of you fretting about it, you should be able to embrace it. Embrace it to use it to your advantage, so that then you can provide more value in other areas where AI cannot replace us in the foreseeable future. For example, two essential skills for staying ahead of artificial intelligence and thriving in the tech space. Two are creativity and innovation. They have nothing to do with programming. They have nothing to do with coding. Those skills are creativity and innovation. Artificial intelligence performs nowhere near the human level of creativity. You can definitely be like, look, really cool stuff, but nothing like the human brain, which is why it's important to cultivate your own innovation, since AI is not replacing it anytime soon. So your brain needs to exercise that innovation muscle. Again, like I said, just again, push yourself to the limit, so that then you can provide those problem solving skills that companies are truly looking for out there, as opposed to, again, being like, okay, let me just learn whatever it's out there because it's cool. No, you need to think of those aspects that give you that creativity and innovation that will give you an edge over other people and make you really valuable. So this is one thing that I want you to take into account. How you think might be worth more than what you know. So that is the current job landscape right now. It's not like, oh, we're gonna learn, we're gonna hire the person who knows more about Flutter or Firebase or this or that. No, I don't care what tool you use, or companies don't care which tool you use. As long as you help them solve those difficult problems that they face day to day, they don't care what tool you use. They don't care what language you use, as long as those problems get solved. So how you think might be worth more than what you know. Skills like resiliency, agility, self-insight, and inclusive leadership are critical for tech job seekers. It has nothing to do with coding. They can hire you for your coding skills, but at the end, they just don't want somebody to just sit down there and do code, because ChatGPT can do that. So no, they're looking for, if by you maintaining resiliency and drive means that you can weather storms, you're a source of stability and positivity for others, and you can adjust to new environments. Resiliency, again, being one of those meta skills of this decade for the tech industry. That's something that that's a great point, Shivank. You need to evolve with technology. That's a great point. You need to embrace that. So thank you very much for that point. And that's exactly what I wanted you to take away from that. Like I keep mentioning, leadership doesn't mean to become a manager. Leadership doesn't mean to become a boss and completely forget about coding. Leadership means taking the drive, taking the initiative on things. You could be just a regular team member, but you can demonstrate leadership. As AI accelerates and put more jobs at risk, leadership is increasingly important. For example, you as students, you have to immerse yourselves in real life scenarios to practice giving and receiving feedback. That's something that AI will not be able to yield. Leaders are the ones who help other people navigate and even thrive during change. Also, it's a uniquely human skill that AI won't be able to replace. It will never replace that empathy with others, sharing with other people, helping one another, survive these chaotic times. That's something that AI won't be able to do. So you put yourself in those real life scenarios. You expose yourself. You push yourself to the limits. That's what is going to give you like that edge over others. Something that I mentioned about leadership, again, is not being about a manager or a developer manager or a boss. No, it's that inclusive leadership, which is the capability of someone to see the value in and the diversity of others. I'm not talking about just like gender diversity, ethnicity diversity, or other diversities. I'm talking about neutral diversity, in background diversity. Like, you need to see the value in other people. You need to see what they're bringing to the table, and that's how you build amazing teams. You build great products, and then you can thrive in the industry because you can see the diversity and the value in other people. Also, to develop these skills, Roman. So how do I do that? Do I buy a Udemy course so that I can build leadership and resiliency and empathy? No, you use for the brain is just like any other muscle. So in order to develop those skills, which are actually kind of innate, but something that AI will never do, is you employ emotional push-ups. Emotional push-ups is just any emotional exertion that you push yourself just a little out of your comfort zone so that you can grow. Just like a muscle, like a physical muscle, when you push yourself outside of your comfort zone to break you, it's actually making you grow more, not only as a person, as a human being, but as a professional. So make sure to step out of your comfort zone. For example, like me, like the other day, I was just learning an animation tool, and I was like, yeah, I might be too old already to learn new things. No, I just became really proficient in that tool. Now that gives me edge over other people. I can make really cool things in Flutter, add animations. It's called Rive, by the way. I love that animation tool. Now you can give an edge to your applications. Now, nobody else in my job knows that. Now I'm the only one who knows it, but I can show other people how to do it. And you see, that gives me a value and gives me an edge over other folks. So emotional push-ups is what you do to push yourself out of the limit, out of the comfort zone, so that you can grow. So now, again, as I wrap up, I just wanted to share with you again how you can get started. In, for example, if you now want to embark on that Flutter journey, remember all that I talked about had nothing to do with coding. It was mostly, again, you becoming a more well-rounded professional. But if you really want to become a Flutter developer, the way to start is by, for example, if you want to adopt, you need to have, of course, a machine. You can do it on Windows or Mac or Linux. That as your physical machine, let's say, for you to develop it. You can do in Windows, you can do both Android web, you can do embedded. For Mac, you can pretty much do all the platforms. You can actually do Linux. If you have like an Ubuntu machine, you can start developing in Flutter. And of course, I would recommend, for example, starting with some of the packages out there in pub.dev. They have amazing packages built. And of course, you need to download the Flutter SDK, which is available on all those platforms that I mentioned. And a good thing for you to have is a physical device. Make sure that you do a physical device so that you can test your applications, how your customers, how your clients, how the public out there is going to consume your applications. So you want to make sure that those get tested on a physical device as you make progress in your application. You don't have to you don't have to, it's not mandatory for you to have even a machine. If you want to start learning Flutter, you can even use something called Darpad. Darpad is a web-based IDE that you can use for fast prototyping. You can use it for learning Flutter. This is what I use for like doing my workshops online, sharing with the community, anything. Share a piece of code with someone. You can use Darpad. If your excuse is, I don't have a machine, there's no excuse. You can just open up a browser like on the library or anywhere where there's like a browser, and you can open up Darpad. You can start learning Flutter right away. So that is my suggestion to you. Again, these are some resources. I'm going to share these slides with some of you. I'm going to drop it in the chat for those of you who want to. Definitely, I'm actually, let me do it right now. So this presentation, I want to share this application with everybody. I'm going to copy the link. I'm gonna drop it in the chat for the team to drop it for you if anybody wants to again get these slides and get these resources. But at least these resources would give you again some pointers on how to proceed. Also some free courses and labs that you can use out there to become really proficient in Flutter. My own code labs, I'm going to give them to you also so that you can play with them and become really proficient in Flutter. And of course, last but not least, follow me on Twitter. Let's connect on LinkedIn. I would love to connect with some of you. I keep sharing in there about jobs and people when they're looking for, again, emerging Flutter developers just like yourself. And of course, you can see my portfolio on the things that I've been building for the community, which with much love for all of you. Please follow me at Dear Coders. That is my Twitter handle, and I would love to see you out there in the community, being awesome, being amazing, continuing sharing. And thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. Thank you for all of you, all the GDSCs collaborating in this session. Thank you so much for the invitation. Wish you luck in your careers as you embark your journey in becoming Flutter developers. Thank you so much. Now I'll open it up to questions. I wanted to see if anybody had questions. Great.
Yeah, so we have one question, sir. Can you discuss the benefits and challenges of using Flutter for developing AI mobile tools?
Great. That's a great question. So Flutter, again, Flutter, remember that Flutter is just the UI portion. Flutter is a UI framework that allows you to develop beautiful, natively compiled applications, but you can apply it to multiple things. Like I use Flutter for, let's say, there are packages that allow you to, let's say, tap into APIs out there like ChatGPT and a lot of those generative AI tools. They do have RESTful APIs that you can talk to, let's say, from Flutter. So my recommendation to you would be you use Flutter for the UI portion, but then you can tap into RESTful APIs. You can tap into the cloud, and you can build, for example, like those type of AI-powered mobile applications. You can not only mobile applications. Remember, Flutter can be used for 7 different platforms. So the benefits of that is that again, you have one single code base. You can target the web, you can target mobile, you can target desktop, you can target embedded. That's something that I encourage you guys to continue using because embedded is going to be it is huge and it's going to continue being huge because now you can push the limits of Flutter on where it can be accessed by your users. So the challenges of of developing AI powered mobile applications all reside in how you approach it, but you can the sky is the limit as far as how you do it. But think about this: Flutter is just the UI portion where you can build really usable, really again completely distributed type of user interfaces for multiple frameworks. But then the backend could be again developed in anything that you can tap through all of these platforms, again like I mentioned. But as far as like AI powered mobile applications, there are great packages that you can use out there that you can implement it with Flutter. But again, my suggestion is use those APIs that are already out there. Like ChatGPT has a bunch of APIs. There are public APIs available out there, even for free, that you don't require any subscriptions. Maybe they require like an API key. But again, always focus that Flutter is the UI portion of it. Don't think that Flutter is even though is a general purpose framework like for building these amazing platforms, but it's mostly for the UI part. So take advantage of the UI benefits of Flutter, but you can apply it to anything literally. So the sky's the limit. The challenges you put the challenges. Flutter actually steps out of the way by allowing you to access those capabilities, AI capabilities, through multiple platforms. So I hope that answers your question a little bit. Do we have any? I see how does Flutter handle animations and transitions? I saw that question coming up a little bit earlier. So Flutter uses animations, for example, in 2 approaches. It's called implicit animations and explicit animations. Implicit animations are those widgets that is when you give up control over convenience, because those are widgets that start with the word, for example, animated. You can look it out there in the framework. Like Flutter has these widgets called animated container, animated padding, animated this, animated that. Like you can just create apply animations to your applications. Very simple, very quick, but you have a little bit of less control over that. Now, the other side of the coin are implicit animations. Implicit animations, you have more control over them. You have a wide range of capabilities that you can do, and you have more customization capabilities as far as implementing animations. You need to implement something called an animation controller, because the controller is what controls your animation, and then you can tap into the inner workings of Flutter using ticker providers. So I would invite you to look at explicit animations more if you want more control, implicit animations in Flutter if you want to have like quick animations applied to your Flutter applications. Transitions, again, you have those capabilities when you implement explicit animations. You have like slide transitions, fade transitions, scale transitions, rotate transitions. All of that is part of the explicit animation package. But now, if you want to take animations to the next level, you can use tools like Rive or Lottie. Those give you like prepackaged animations that you can bring into your Flutter applications, but you don't build them inside Flutter. You build them outside, maybe through like Adobe After Effects, or you can use Rive, and then you export a Lottie file or a Rive file, and you can import them into your Flutter applications, and then you just control, for example, what they call a state machine, and then you can apply the transitions between one state to another state. So my recommendation to you is look explicit animations, implicit animations, but if you want to take it a step further, you can look at a tool like Rive or like Lottie files, which give you that edge over other applications, because that you can build really complex transitions, amazing animations that can delight your users. Great. I see another question says, how to find internship opportunities as a Flutter developer? Yeah, so that's a great way. So, like I was mentioning, LinkedIn has also, again, I recommend you join LinkedIn, because they're also posting a lot of jobs out there that they're looking, that they don't even require like any that you can work completely remotely. That they're looking for even junior developers to join their ranks. But to find internships, first of all, put yourself out there. Like I was mentioning before, don't try to focus just on polishing your resume. You have to build a portfolio or a way for employees out there to see the value, to see your talent in an intangible way, in a tangible way, actually, not just intangible, but in a tangible way that they can see. Oh, for example, Nikhil, I want to see like what you've built. By them seeing what you've built, even if it's something simple, they can see that you've already have gone through the motions of learning that product or that language or that framework. They can see your passion for it, your potential. That says a lot about you. That you don't only just worry about studying something, but you worry about putting great things out there. That you're not afraid of getting feedback. That you're not afraid to be vulnerable in front of others, because all of us are humans. So again, the keys to finding internship out there as a Flutter developer: one, put yourself out there, build a portfolio, contribute to the community. By putting yourself out there and again contributing to the community, you make a name for yourself before you even like get a job or join a company. But again, I, as a as a senior developer, even that I hire other people, what I look in a candidate is whether they've contributed, let's say on GitHub, they have a GitHub repo, whether they have a personal portfolio, whether they've contributed to the community, whether they've even attended other events and they have communities like these, like GDSCs, like, are you a GDSC lead or something like that? Like that gives you that edge, and then you're part of a thriving ecosystem of developers, because that will make you a more rounded individual, more rounded professional, and will give you an edge over other people. Thank you. Thank you so much for your questions. Do we have any other questions out there? Yes, the folks have put the links to the slideshow, to the slides that I put there, and make sure, yeah, to take a look at those, and let's connect on LinkedIn, through Twitter. Make sure to find me there. I hope to continue interacting with you guys in the future.
So we have next question with us. How does the job market for Flutter developers differ between India and other countries, and what unique opportunities and challenges exist in each region?
Great. That's a very good question. For example, what I've noticed in India, there's a thriving ecosystem of companies looking for, again, like a remote developers and all of that. But remember, don't try to frame yourself and like uh, what's only in India, in the world. Like for example, like here in the United States, they're looking for remote. There's like remote employees Flutter is actually picking up a lot of momentum in the industry. So again, like I mentioned, the things that are gonna differentiate you from other developers out there is the experience. So they're looking for people with already experience. Yes, you can, but not like vast experience. It's just that you have gone through the motions, because they cannot ask for like 5 years experience in Flutter. I mean, Flutter is 5 years old, almost, like, a little bit older than that. But they cannot expect like, oh, I have 10 years in Flutter. No. Even if you have a couple of applications, you're a junior developer, that is enough. That it would be enough for me. Like, for example, hiring here. The multiple challenges that they face is differs on how companies are adopting, or how fast they're adopting Flutter in the industry. The great thing about Flutter is that Flutter tackles multiple platforms. So if a company is looking for a web developer, you could implement it in Flutter. If a company is looking for an iOS developer, Flutter can take care of that, because Flutter can publish to iOS. Same thing for Android. Same thing for embedded. So that is one of the benefits of applying Flutter to multiple verticals, multiple industries, multiple platforms. So that is one of the key things. But the challenges out there are companies are adopting it at a fast pace, but are still companies that haven't adopted it yet. They're seeing the benefits of Flutter. So the benefits of Flutter, because you can do with one single code base, you can target multiple platforms, and you can target your users in a broad range of platforms out there. But put yourself out there, continue building those skills, because there are companies out there that are looking for junior, mid-level, experienced developers, but not just in Flutter. It's in problem solving. In India, I've actually interacted with a couple of my friends over there that are companies out there that are looking for like startups. Like it's really famous now, like in startups, like where now you're joining the ranks of a small company that is thriving and gaining momentum. This is a great opportunity for them to adopt Flutter. So even if you even see like a startup that is looking for a developer, you can even pitch Flutter to them and say, look, Flutter gives you these benefits because you can come out with a great MVP. In other regions, for example, like in South America, it's actually really popular because of that, because it's cheap to, it's a short learning curve. It's easy to implement. The is open source, because you don't have to. And there's a huge, amazing community of Flutter developers, and an amazing Flutter community that you can learn from. So those are the things that I recommend for those of you who are looking for jobs, for surveying the tech space, the job landscape, and you're looking for jobs in Flutter. My suggestion to you, again, continue building those knowledges, continue building your portfolio, put yourself out there. Again, of course, tap into something like LinkedIn, tap into your colleagues and friends, rely on those upon them to spread the word. Let's connect on LinkedIn, because every day I keep getting like a job offer to me, which I would love to find somebody who would take it. Because again, I'm happy where I am, but I would love to again, like, join those companies who are looking for Flutter developers out there. So let's stay connected. I will continue spreading the word on that. But yeah, put yourself out there, continue building those knowledges. Thank you guys.
And sir, next question we have, sir, how to best showcase our skills and project while applying for internships and jobs in Flutter development, and what personal advice you would like to add on, or any mistake that we would not repeat while applying for internships.
Great. Don't, one thing, yeah, I'm going to address from backwards. So don't be afraid to repeat other things out there, because, oh yeah, don't build this thing because it's already been built. Don't go with that mentality. You're going to give it your own flavor. You can build another to-do list application, or another, like news application. You're going to give it your own flavor. So I would build another news list, or, another to-do application. But what will make it different from other people is that I will give it my own flavor. I will give it my own passion. And that is going to be the differentiator. People don't care about like, oh, this is another application. No, I will see it as, this person loves Flutter. This person likes to put themselves out there, and they like to build stuff, even if it's already built. But you try to like add your own flavor, add your own twist, even if it has already been built out there. The best way to showcase your talents, like I mentioned, leverage things like GitHub Pages. GitHub Pages is free. You don't have to pay for hosting, and you can build like a small portfolio of little projects that you're passionate about. The way that I approach it myself is I do things that I love. For example, yeah, don't do things that you're like, I don't want to do this thing, but I have to do it to build my portfolio. No. Do you like Bollywood movies? Make a Netflix for Bollywood movies. Do you like dogs? Why don't you make an application about the nicest breeds of dogs out there? I like my country, Dominican Republic. I build an application for people to learn about Dominican Republic. So I built a touristic application so people can learn about Dominican Republic, amazing touristic attractions in the Caribbean, so that they can learn about my island. You can download that application right now. It's called Torsi. So I built an application just for that. I also like games. I love casual games. I build an application that you can draw like little lines and you can make little squares. That application got featured at Flutter Forward in Nairobi, Kenya. Just because I built it for myself didn't mean that I didn't want to put it out there for other people. Now a lot of people know about it. The Flutter team saw it and they loved it, and they showcased it at Flutter Forward. So you see, even though something is repeated out there, it doesn't mean that you're not passionate about it. Like, but if you truly don't want to repeat yourself and do other things that other people are doing, go for something that you are passionate about, because you're gonna love doing it, you're gonna enjoy doing it in the process, and you're gonna put your heart into it. And those things that I've put out there is because other people have said, yeah, but why are you going to do that? That's already done. But no, if I love it, if I am passionate about it, I'm going to put all my efforts and all my passion into it, and it's going to come out with love, and people will see it through that. So leverage GitHub Pages to like put your portfolios out there. Firebase hosting is completely free. You don't have to pay for hosting, and continue building those projects that you love and that you're passionate about, because that will come through, that will shine through those projects, and people will see the true value that you have. So great, thank you. What other questions do we
Yeah,
have? I
so
think
we
it's
are all, yes, sir.
go ahead. Mhm.
Yes, sir.
I see there's another question.
So
How
we
to
are
stay
done
up?
with the question parts.
Mhm. Oh, we're done with the questions.
Uh,
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
yeah, so we are done with all the questions.
Okay, perfect. So I
Yeah.
already addressed those. So
So
again,
it's
mhm. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
sir. So it's gratitude time. I'm really very overflowing with my gratitude for incredible experience, and I'm pleasure to being host of your speaker session. Your enthusiasm and passion for this topic shown through each and every moment of this session. It was truly pleasure to see how you engage with our audience and shared your valuable knowledge, tips, and advice. Your insights on the current job marketings and the skills needed for a successful career in Flutter were truly opening. Like, I personally loved the way you used to present the presentation, and I just love your presentation, sir. Once again, thank you for accepting our invitation. And yeah, sir, thank you so much, sir.
Thank
So
you,
one
Sarik.
more question we have
Go
in the
ahead. Yeah.
chat. Like, listening you for the first time, but love the way you deliver. Okay, it is
Oh, that was just a
appreciation
comment.
session.
That was just a comment. But
Yeah,
again, to
like
you,
in the yeah
just want to say, Sarika, you
in
did
the
an
early,
amazing
yes, sir.
job. You're amazing as a host. Thank you so much for reaching out. Everybody listening, Sarika was the one who reached out to me, as well as other folks in your GDC lead. You're amazing. Continue contributing to the community, being an amazing host, and I hope to see you guys soon. I hope you guys invite me again. So thank you, everybody. Good luck in your careers. I hope that I can connect with you, and I hope that maybe our career paths cross one day. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us.